So here's the big question. Is the key to a better life really all in your head? Or are we just pawns in a much, much bigger game? That's the tension we're going to unpack today, and we're starting with a really powerful and, honestly, a very seductive idea.
Let's start right here with this incredibly simple concept from writer James Allen. Back in 1903, he put into words a philosophy that still hits home for so many of us. We are the makers of ourselves. The idea is that our thoughts, what's going on up here, directly shape our destiny.
But an idea that radical, that we can create our own reality, doesn't just pop out of nowhere. To really get why it's so powerful, we have to look back at the soil where this idea first started to grow.
You know, Allen's philosophy didn't just appear out of thin air. It was really the peak of a wave that started with American transcendentalists, who were all about intuition over just cold, hard logic. And that really paved the way for thinkers like Phineas Quimby to coin this idea of mind over matter, which set the stage for the whole New Thought movement, where James Allen would become a star.
So the New Thought movement was basically built on this one core belief, that our inner world, our thoughts, our beliefs, literally creates our outer reality. And this wasn't just about thinking positive. No, they believed it was a fundamental law of the universe, that the mind is the master weaver of everything that happens to us.
Right at the heart of Allen's work is this incredible promise that every single one of us holds a key that can unlock every situation we face, whether it's good or bad. And the wild part is, that key is made entirely in our own minds. The power isn't out there somewhere, it's right in here.
Allen paints this really vivid picture, right? You're the captain of a ship. Your thoughts are the helm, the steering wheel, and your life is going to go wherever you point it. In this world, self-control isn't just some nice-to-have virtue. It is strength. And right thought isn't just being an optimist. It's about achieving total mastery over where your life is headed.
And look, it's an empowering, almost intoxicating idea. But what happens when the storms aren't just in our heads? What happens when the world itself seems to be raging against us, no matter how positive we try to be?
So the first big challenge to this idea of pure self-reliance doesn't come from inside us. It comes from the outside, from these massive systems that shape our entire world.
This is where law scholar Martha McCluskey comes in with a really sharp critique. She argues that when we focus too much on personal responsibility, it can become a really convenient excuse to let bigger systems off the hook. It ends up blaming people for failures that they didn't even create.
I mean, just think about the 2008 financial crisis. The evidence was overwhelming that this was caused by systemic failures in banking and regulation. But what was the story we heard over and over? It often came down to the choices of individual homeowners. And the solution wasn't major reform, it was mass austerity, which put the burden of sacrifice right on the people who were victims of the system, not the ones who designed it.
So this forces us to go back to our metaphor. Look, it's one thing to be the captain of your ship on a nice, calm sea. But what if your ship is caught in a massive hurricane that you had no part in creating and have no way of controlling? Is right thought really enough to get you through that storm?
And you know, the storm isn't just external. The challenge also comes from deep inside our own biology, from the way our brains are actually wired.
Okay, so quick biology lesson. When you face a threat, your body's alarm system kicks in, right? It floods you with stress hormones like cortisol, and that's fantastic if you need to run from a tiger. But what happens when the stress is chronic, from financial problems or systemic pressures? That alarm, it just never shuts off. It just keeps on ringing.
A healthy brain has this amazing skill called habituation. It learns to tune out the constant, non-threatening stuff, like the hum of the fridge, so you can focus on what's actually important. It's a key part of how we adapt and save our energy for new things. So this is what normal habituation looks like. A stimulus repeats, and you can see the brain's response just gets weaker and weaker. The alarm bell rings once or twice, and then the brain goes, okay, got it, this isn't a threat, and that response just fades away. It preserves your focus.
But, and this is a big but, chronic stress can completely shatter that process. I mean, look at this chaotic pattern. The alarm bell just keeps ringing at full blast. The brain loses its ability to filter things out. It gets stuck in this state of constant, exhausting high alert.
So let's go back to our captain one last time. What happens when the captain, your conscious mind, is biologically fried? When the actual hardware you use for thinking is worn down by a relentless flood of stress hormones? Can you really think your way to being calm when your brain's alarm is literally stuck in the on position?
So where does this all leave us? We've got the incredible power of the mind, the undeniable reality of these huge external systems, and the hardwired facts of our own bodies. Let's see if we can find some kind of balance here.
This is really the core conflict, right? On one side, you have James Allen's super empowering view, your thoughts create your reality, full stop. And on the other, you have this stark reminder that powerful external forces and our own biology can just completely overwhelm our best intentions.
So maybe the answer isn't about choosing one idea over the other. Maybe true mastery isn't just about controlling your thoughts in a vacuum. Maybe it's about deeply understanding the entire context you're operating in, the systems around you, and the biological reality of your own brain.
This points us toward a more complete kind of wisdom. Yes, absolutely, you have to acknowledge the incredible power of your mindset. But at the same time, you have to recognize the systemic forces you're dealing with, and you've got to respect the biological needs of your body. Real control comes from focusing your energy on what you can actually do within that big, complicated context.
So the real question isn't if you're the captain, but how you captain. How do you steer your thoughts when the systemic sea is raging all around you and your biological crew is pushed to its absolute breaking point? Now that is the true challenge of mastery.